discuss some of the parenting tips for improving your child's mental health. Hi, I am Dr. Avinash Kamath. I am a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist at Manipal Hospital, Ambedkar Circle, Mangaluru. So, as parents, we are doing a complex job of juggling various roles. We are providing for our children in terms of material needs, we are providing them with nurturance, we are providing them with care, we are also involved in disciplining them, we are also involved in making decisions for them, and we are also responsible for their safety and well-being. So parents often find themselves confused regarding balancing these roles. So one can look at parenting as an act between balancing between roles which are of nurturing type and roles which are of demanding type. So nurturing roles are being available for the child, being spending time with children, being supportive with their needs, caring for them, loving for them, spending quality time for them. Whereas demanding may be like having high expectations about their study roles or their developing proper behaviors and skills, manners and things like that. So parents sometimes find it difficult and confusing to look at how to balance these two roles. So here are some tips that will help you parents to achieve this kind of a complex balance in a little bit more ease. Parents often ask us that if we praise our child or always keep giving the child rewards, are we not pampering them or are we not going to spoil them? So now it is very important for us to understand what is spoiling and what is rewarding or praising. Praising the child immediately after a good behavior or a behavior which is going to be advantageous for the child is definitely going to make the child understand that we are observing and looking at what the child is doing well. So holding back praises is definitely not a good thing to do. We can praise the child in ways which are okay for the child to understand and in a way that is meaningful for the child. There is no need often to kind of immediately give corrective feedback to children when they are learning new skills. So it is always better to praise them for what the efforts they are putting in and what the results are going to come. So while we are praising them or when we are rewarding them, we need to remember that it is important to do this immediately after the act has happened or the good behavior has happened. Or when we are giving a reward, saying that it is better to state saying that I was happy that you did this and when you behaved well in the party or when you went and gave a speech in the school that made me very happy and that is the reason why I am giving you this. So it is very important to make the link between the behavior and the praise and reward that is given. Children respond much more well if constantly given adequate praises for their good behavior. So this is something that parents need to remember. There is a little bit of a confusion about what is a bribe and what is a what is a reward. So let me clarify that for parents. So a bribe is something that is offered right in the beginning before the behavior happens. Like you say that today while going out, if you don't create a fuss, then I will buy you a chocolate or ice cream and you. So when we are saying this, we are expecting the child's behavior to happen first, but the reward or what is the reward is given right in the beginning, right? So this makes the child do the behavior in order to get that thing as a result of it. This may not be a very effective strategy if used constantly. It is better otherwise to have the child do the behavior or have the expectation of the behavior and the reward comes spontaneously or later on immediately after the good behavior is exhibited by the child. So in this way, the child understands that parents are always looking for their child's good behavior and that if I behave well, I may be rewarded, rather than doing the behavior just for getting the outcome of a reward. This is a very fundamental difference that parents need to understand between a bribe and a reward. Another doubt that parents often ask is that how do I handle a child when the child is angry or when the child is showing a lot of emotions, right? Especially in slightly younger children, controlling their behavior when they are angry or when they are throwing a tantrum may become very difficult. So one very easy tip for parents is to help children understand what is it that they are experiencing. So maybe sometimes the child is throwing a fit or being very stubborn because of an anxiety. So it may be that the child is anxious about what is going to happen when he goes to a doctor, or the child may be feeling very angry that something that the child has asked for is not given. So in these situations, it helps the parents to be able to tell the child back what the child may be feeling, or checking with the child what the child is feeling. So you could ask the child, or you could tell the child, looks like you are feeling angry now, or looks like you are having a lot of anxiety or fear. Is that so? So opening discussions about feelings helps the child understand that there is a place for feelings in what is happening, and the feeling is happening as a response to something. This helps them achieve a little bit more control over their behavior, so they may not lash out. So when we reflect on behavior to the child, it gives us a chance for telling them, look, you are angry now. When you are angry, you will not listen or hear whatever I am saying. So you go calm down, wash your face, or go for a walk, come back. Afterwards, I will talk to you, or afterwards we can continue discussing this. So suggesting these kind of changes in behavior becomes very easy once we start giving them a reflection on what we are observing as their behavior. It gives them a chance to pause on their behavior and then go about doing things. So this is an important tip for parents to remember. Often, parents, when they come to us for help, ask questions like, how do I stop my child from watching TV for a long time? How do I stop my child from playing games on mobile phone? How do I stop my child from behaving in a particular way? Now, there is nothing wrong in being concerned about these behaviors, and it is true that these are some behaviors which can create problems for the child's routine and can sometimes interfere with their work and functioning. So, before we look into how to change those things, it sometimes helps parents to kind of understand that we need to also have a slightly positive outlook towards child's behavior and change. So it may be worthwhile for us to discuss with our partners and think about what else is the behavior that may replace that behavior at that time. So instead of saying that, how do I make my child stop using phone or spending a lot of time on TV, it may be worthwhile to sometimes ask ourselves the question, what can the child engage in instead of being on TV for a long time? So what are the options that I can provide at home, or what are the options that I can ask the child to engage in instead of TV or this thing? So when we have a positive outlook towards behavior, or when we look for positive behaviors for the child to engage in instead of reducing negative behaviors, this kind of a small shift in our outlook can itself sometimes solve the minor range of problems that a lot of parents have. Sometimes, of course, child may particularly choose to engage in these behaviors which we don't want the child to, and at that time we may need to involve some amount of disciplining or other options. But say we are not on our own able to think of about 5 or 6 options to engage the child at home or other ways other than TV or phone, then if there are no options, then what are the things that we may be able to suggest child? So that itself becomes sometimes a problem that we are not able to overcome. So it is useful for parents to have a positive change expectation from their children rather than looking at what is the negative outcomes that the child is having. The next step is about when to reinforce praise or help the child shape a particular behavior versus when to use punishment or reprimand the child or give the child corrective feedback or punish the child, right? So we need to understand that when we praise or when we sometimes constantly demand or nag the child about doing a particular behavior, when the child ends up doing that behavior, we are increasing a particular behavior in the child. So by using reward or by being firm and constantly demanding, we do certain things in such a way that the child behaves by increasing certain behaviors, right? So it may be spending more time with studies, it may be being a little bit more regular with his routines or things like that. So these things help us shape their positive behaviors better. Punishments or reprimands or say taking away privileges, these are some of the strategies that are used to reduce undesirable behaviors. So it is important for us to know what we are doing when we are punishing. When we are punishing, we are trying to make sure that that kind of behaviors do not happen so often. So we need to kind of look very carefully what we are punishing. So many times it is helpful to reserve strategies of punishing or reprimanding to behaviors where the child has really caused problems to others, or where the child has behaved in ways which is definitely not good for the child's safety or other children's safety. So if the child is doing some risk-taking behaviors, child is damaging property, or child is pushing and causing harm to others, right? These are situations where in which adults may have to intervene and then tell the child that this behavior is not acceptable and that's why you are being punished this way, right? So it is definitely much more advisable to use verbal and taking away of privileges before needing to physically punish the child. So because many times an act of aggression becomes something that the child may model upon. So we need to be careful while using punishment in that sense. So it is easier for us to look at what are the good behaviors in the child and then improve them, rather than looking at what are the small problem behaviors which require punishment. Sometimes parents don't understand this and end up using punishment for even behaviors which need not be punished. Like say for example, if you want the child to study but if the child is not studying and we punish for the child not studying, then it doesn't really help anyone. It doesn't help the child, nor does it help the behavior. It may be more useful that parents observe sometimes when the child is studying and say give him a pat on the back or communicate to them saying that you have felt happy because the child has engaged in those behaviors, rather than punishing for not engaging in those behaviors. The last and important tip for parents would be that we need to understand that children learn a lot of things from observing how adults or people around them behave. So it is important for us to model appropriate behaviors. This is especially important in families wherein which they find it hard for keeping the child to behave in certain ways when people are visiting, or when there are situations where the child's behavior is not appropriate in social situations. So modeling good behavior, showing the child what is the expected behavior rather than punishing the child for what the behavior has happened is often more useful. So who all are the models for the children? First models are definitely parents, and then it may be a sibling or it may be a close cousin, right? So we can ask the child to copy or mimic or do what those children have done, or we can show the child by providing role plays or situations where the child can learn the desirable behavior, like say how to greet guests when they are coming, how to behave when certain situations are difficult for the child to navigate. Sometimes some children who are very anxious may find it very difficult when close family members or relatives come. They may choose to go and hide in their room instead of coming out and sitting. So for these kind of behaviors, instead of punishing them or making fun of them, it often helps more by having a brief discussion and having more of this kind of places where in which they can model the behavior for the child and show what is the expected behavior, and then praise and mold and reinforce those behaviors. So hope these tips have been useful to you all, and here are some situations where you may want to consider taking professional help, and many times it helps to talk to a mental health professional about some of these things if you are observing certain behaviors in your children which find it difficult to be controlled. There is often not requirement for medications for many of these challenging behavior in children unless there is significant physical aggression or very disruptive behaviors which are disturbing the child's sleep and other routines. For majority of the child's behavioral problems, engaging with a psychologist or a mental health professional like a psychiatrist is adequate, and many a times for working with the children we need to work with the parents to be able to help their children, because the child's behaviors don't happen in the clinic, they happen in the school or with parents, right? So it often sometimes happens that we end up working more with the parents than with the children, because it is the parents who will have to work with their children in the home environment to modify these behaviors. So on that concluding note,